So we're going to talk about adding in backgrounds to the website, and technically this works for anything as well. You can put backgrounds in divs or in H1s or in paragraphs. You can do all sorts of cool stuff with backgrounds. So I wanted to show off, first of all, when you put in a background image, the picture will get tiled across the whole surface of the website. So if I put in a picture of me, that picture will sort of show up in the top left corner, and then another picture of me will show up, and it'll just kind of get pasted all across, and you'll see this like grid of pictures of yourself, which kind of looks goofy, and sometimes you've seen that almost like in, I don't know what the word is, but like, I don't know, in a way that's kind of making fun of things. So we're gonna try to avoid that. Rarely does that work out. However, there are some patterns that are designed to be tiled, and I had a website open. This one, there's lots of different websites like this. Subtle Patterns, this one's called. I'll link this on my website, where you can go and find different patterns that are designed to be tiled, and they actually look quite nice, and they're free and royalty free as well, so you can use them even for a commercial project. Although double check in case you have to give credit. So I ended up choosing, I think, this one here. And it's cool because you can click on them, and then you click preview, and the whole website changes its background. So you're like, maybe you're making your, I don't know, your Coach website for your favorite handbags or something. So you might find some classy, like maybe your Rolex website or something. You're trying to do something really classy looking or something. You can try out these different kinds of tiled backgrounds. So to change the background of a website, I'm going to do it entirely in CSS. So I'm just going to use my typography website as another example. Currently it looks like this. Oh, no background. So I guess first of all, I'll mention you can just give a background color pretty easily. You would choose to style the body. The entire body is sort of what you're going to do to affect the background. Although you could do any of these things in a div as well. So if you just wanted to make a specific color, you could type in background color. And as you type, you'll notice it kind of predicts different things that come up here. So background color is one of them, and you could choose a color. For example, if I typed in black and saved it, I bet you can guess what's going to happen. Well, actually, maybe you can't. Watch this. When I refresh, you'll find out something that might be surprising. It turns black. Hey, but why did my div turn black as well? It turns out, if you don't specify the background color of the div, it's transparent. So the background color is just showing through, which is fine for this. This actually looks kind of cool, like Stranger Things kind of look to it. But the text is there. It's black as well, so it doesn't really work too well, right? So maybe you do want that black background because you're going for that Stranger Things look. Just give your div also a background color as well, because otherwise it's transparent, so it'll just bleed through. So I can do background color for here. I'll make it white as two separate colors. So now you can have backgrounds in two different places. So that's good. But what about if you wanted to put in a picture? That's sort of the point of this lesson. You probably could figure out the background colors. You can leave background color there if you want to. But I'm going to choose a picture. Don't forget, just like everything in web design, that picture has to be in the same folder. And I can just go and verify. Yeah, I have my picture right here, diagonal squares. If I double click on it and open it up, this is my picture, diagonal squares. And you'll notice that it's only this big, but because of the way that CSS does backgrounds, it'll tile that picture across. And some of these, like this particular picture, is designed so you can sort of put another picture side by side, and you'll never see the line that sort of connects the two. It's seamlessly tileable backgrounds. So that will maybe look nice. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to put in, instead of background color, I'll put in background image. And then you have to type in URL. Oops. Got to type it right. And then parenthesis, and then the name of the file. And what did I call my file? Diagonal-squares and .png. You might not see the .png or the .jpeg, so when you save the picture, you might want to notice what it is. So I just paste that into there, and then semicolon. Hey, guess what you could do wrong? This is like the biggest slap in the face. Watch this. Some of you already experienced this. If you put a space between URL and the parenthesis, that breaks it. Isn't that like the meanest thing? I hate that. I'm like, why? Why web design? Why are you so hard? Just there's no space there. So if you save that and you don't have a space there and the name is correct and that file is actually downloaded in that folder, when you go to refresh it, it'll show it, and it's kind of hard for you to see maybe because it's so black. But you can see it's there. It's being tiled all the way across. It's just automatically spreading it all over the place. So that's nice, and you can find some good, excuse me, some good tileable patterns that might work for you depending on the topic. I don't obviously don't have a topic right now, so it's a good neutral sort of background. But sometimes you want to put like a nice big picture in the background of some cool scene from the video game or whatever. Imagine you're doing a Minecraft website, right? Like that kind of makes sense for Minecraft, but not really. You want a big cool picture of like exploring some cool cubicle landscape type thing, right? So I'll show you how to do that. I have another picture. I chose a picture from my favorite anime. Well, arguably, Neon Genesis Evangelion. There's a rule in anime that says the weirder the name, the less it makes sense in English, the better the anime is. I don't know what that Neon Genesis Evangelion means, but it's a good anime, so that's it definitely keeps that rule going. So you can put that picture, and I downloaded it. I call it NGE, and it's .jpg. By the way, whatever picture you file, like when you go to download that picture, it gives you some name. Oftentimes it's ridiculous. Or download a picture and the name is just 100 numbers .jpg. Don't put up with that. Like, yeah, just type a new name in. Like, rename it to something you can remember. NGE.jpg. I'll save this and show you what it looks like. Here it is. Oh, it's like, it's too big. And as I scroll, oh, this one actually, but you can see it's tiling. At this point right here, a new copy of the picture is happening. That doesn't look very professional. You want to kind of constrain that somehow. Also, like, what's the point of even having this background picture? You can't see anything that's going on, so there's a couple of problems here. So first of all, I'll address the issue of, like, the picture's too big, or in your case, it might be too small or something. So how do you get it to fit correctly? It's not hard to do. Let's do it. There's a background size. And there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. I should have just typed in size. I'm too lazy. I'll just keep going. Background. I couldn't see it. I don't know. It's all good. Don't judge me. And then you can just type in a size for the width first and then height. You can type in actual pixel numbers to get a very specific size. Or if you want to just stretch it to be the whole size of the screen, which sometimes distorts the picture, but often is good enough, you can just go 100%, 100%. Oops, I meant a semicolon there. So that'll kind of stretch it out to be the full size of the page. And then another thing that people usually do when they make full-size backgrounds is they'll anchor that background so it doesn't scroll, just the rest of your page scrolls. So you do what's called background position, and I usually choose fixed for a big picture. And I think that's it. I'll go refresh. I feel like I forgot something. Refreshes, and oh, look, it's just so big. It's like, it's 100% size, but it's so long because the website scrolls. So the more content I put in here, the longer that will get. I'll keep stretching that picture out. So I want to switch that. Instead of, what is it? Now I'm forgetting. Oh, background attachment. It was not background position. It was background attachment. I got it wrong. So I think background attachment fixed means that it will sort of lock it into that particular part of the window and then you won't scroll. I'll save that and see if that makes it better. All right. Yeah, there we go. So it's there. And as I scroll, that picture kind of stays the same place. Woo! Look at that. Wowzers. We still can't see the picture, though. Like, it's nice. Yeah, that's it. That's great. So Charlie suggested making the div slightly transparent. So that's one way to do it. We'll see that creates a problem, but it's a solvable problem. The second thing is you could move the div down so you start off seeing the picture, and then as you scroll up, your div takes over. But then at least you can see the picture at the beginning of the website. And then another possibility is you Photoshop your own picture so that all the action happens on the sides, and you don't have the stuff in the middle. And that is unfortunate, and you'll struggle with this because, like, if you look at, I just googled Neon Genesis Evangelion. How do I get out of here? Like, look at these pictures. This picture, like, all the action's in the center. This picture, I mean, most of the action's in the center. Like, everything's centered. You know, like you can sort of see where it could go. But hey, guess what? You don't have to put your div in the center. If you wanted to have this cool picture with these like laser crosses going on, and you want your div on the side, you could play with the margins. You don't have to have the div centered. So please feel free to adjust things as you want. Or use Photoshop to create images where maybe you move this over to the side, and you make 2 copies of them so they're sort of on the left and the right. Feel free to like play with those images and adjust them, or just keep looking. Also, notice that the background doesn't always have to be the same topic. Like this, I don't know, they got like a Neon Genesis Evangelion thing going on with like the Mac OS. I forget what version of this was, this mountain. Those colors look really well together. Like, feel free to like choose something that's not necessarily your topic, but goes well with the design in terms of colors and maybe thematic. I don't think there's a lot of mountains in that anime off the top of my head, but yeah, you could do something with it. Anyways, last but not least, let's go and solve that problem with the different ways. So we'll start off with making the div transparent somewhat, and we'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to make it so that this white color is still white, but has some opacity, or what's the word? Some semi-opacity. I'm not sure. I forget what the term is. But here's the way to do that. So for background color, you can specify something that's called an RGBA value. Yeah, I know. It's kind of annoying. But RGBA means that you're going to specify a color with 4 numbers. A red value, a green value, a blue value, and an alpha value. Red, green, blue is pretty clear. And any color you find on the internet, you can look up its red, green, blue values. For example, if you just Google RGB white, for example, you'll see an example. It's 255, 255, 255. And if you find, remember the color selector we were looking at before? If I just Google color selector, it'll show me this nice color selector, and I can click around and like, oh, here's a nice color. I want to use this one. It shows you the RGB values. Not the A, but it shows you the RGB values. So if I wanted this color of blue, then I could use 34, 91, and 183 to specify those values. And then there's a final number. The A says how transparent is that color. So it's a number between 0 and 1, 0 being completely transparent and 1 being completely solid. All right, I'll show you an example of what that looks like, but I know it's a little confusing. So I'm going to put in white. That was 255, 255, 255. And you're just separating with commas. And then you put in a transparency value. So somewhere between 0 and 1. 0 would be invisible. 1 would be completely solid. 0.5 is like halfway between. So I'll save that. And I'll refresh it. And you'll see that the picture shows through. And you can adjust the transparency to whatever you want. So if I wanted it to be less transparent, I'd make this number bigger. For example, 0.9 is 90% opaque, which means 90% solid, 10% see-through. So if I refresh that, you'll see it's more white, and you can just barely see through it. And if I made this 0.1, then that's 10% opaque and 90% see-through. 90% transparent. So you can see the difference between that. Like, you can barely see the white. But sometimes that's all you need, is just enough to sort of offset it. Notice that the more transparent it goes, the harder it is to read the text. That's going to be a big problem for anybody who wants to do a nice big background picture. If you want to have that transparency to show through, you got to find a way to keep that text still legible, still readable. If you can't read the text, then like if the user has to click and select to like read it, then no good for typography. But like there's things you can do. Like you could adjust, say for example, you could change the font to be a thicker font. You could change it to be white maybe as a color. You could give it a text shadow, very subtle. So if you want to do this, there's ways, but you're going to have to kind of work towards it and try things out. So that's sort of one technique, is to make the background transparent. It has its problems. It has its value. Generally, I think a lot of students like it. So I'm going to set this to 1, so it's completely solid again. And then here's another possibility. You could just move the div down. So if I wanted to make the div go down, it would be which one of these properties do I want to change? Margin top. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, thanks, folks. So I can just make this number bigger. I can make it 600, for example. And you can just play with numbers until you get a good number. And if I refresh, like the project starts and you get to see some cool picture of the anime, and then you can kind of scroll into the web page. And sometimes like this title, maybe it belongs like outside the div. Maybe it would be cool to have it sort of like here with the giant robots as opposed to contained in the div. So how would you do that? Well, just a matter of taking this H1 and putting it outside of the div. I'd have to do some like text centering because I don't think it's automatically centered. I don't remember. Oh, no, it's centered. Maybe I'd even make it bigger, 180 or something. And I could refresh that, and now it starts with like, you know, imagine Neon Genesis Evangelion, and then you scroll up, and well, maybe now like this is too big, so I have to adjust the numbers. But you can kind of start with a cool title and then scroll into the picture. Sometimes that's worth it, and sometimes it's not. If you have something that's like a cool picture that you want to like splash and be like, oh, this is exciting, look at this cool thing, and then scroll into the information, then that's a pretty good way to do it. But not all websites and not all topics and not all characters will be like that. Although I imagine for this particular project, a lot of people, you know, from Batman to SpongeBob, like that technique probably will like cover a lot of cool stuff. Like imagine Bikini Bottom right here instead, and you got your nice happy SpongeBob font, and you scroll in, and you got your pineapple, your pineapple colored div and stuff, and like you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. So there's a couple of techniques for you to bring in those backgrounds. I'll just put the CSS up on the screen again. Mostly we're just styling the body. You can do just a specific color. You can do a tiled image. You can do a background image that you stretch. Don't forget you can even do the same thing for divs. So if I wanted to do background image and do a tiled image in my div, background image URL, and I wanted to put it in that diagonal. Is that still pasted? No. Diagonal squares.png. I think that's what it was called. You can put background images in the div as well. The text isn't readable anymore, but you can imagine like making white text and kind of combining things. So these are just some options available to you. Depends on your topic, what's appropriate. Excuse me. Always make sure that you keep your text readable no matter what you do. That's going to be really important. Okay, thanks everybody.